Good morning. Please, welcome, and please have a seat. I'm Amy Gadara, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of Virginia and for the Governor, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all today. Before we dig in, I'd like to make sure that we introduce four critical folks who are here who embody everything that this conversation will be about today, and these are the leaders in the field who make education work for our students. And I want to call out that we have the Petersburg Superintendent, Yolanda Brown, here. We have, and please stand up as you're here, it'd be great. We have Teresa Vance, the principal of Prince Edward County Elementary. We have Shonda Woods, the Region 2 Teacher of the Year, and teacher in Newport News. And I know that Maria Feliciano, who's the teacher at Hopewell High School, is on her way, so she'll be joining us momentarily. But thank you for what you do every day and what I'm hoping that we all see and what we're talking about today in terms of how do we empower the teachers, the parents, the community members on the ground who every day make education work for every student in the Commonwealth. So thank you for being here, for being champions of this work, and for helping us develop this work. We appreciate it. So we have gathered in this room many times together over the past 2 years to share updates on the state of our schools, and also to announce efforts to support student success. Today, we mark a critical milestone in our shared goal to ensure that every single student in Virginia is ready for life. The goal of the School Performance and Support Framework, and of every single thing that this administration does, is to increase student achievement, to address learning loss, and to build the best education system in the nation to ensure that every single student graduates ready for life. This framework is a critical part of the commitment that our governor made to Virginians in this very room in May of 2022. In that call to action, the governor not only provided an honest assessment of the state of student achievement, but he also shared the principles that would guide every single decision and still guides every decision that this administration makes. Let me share a couple of those key ones. We will have high expectations for every student. We will prepare every student for college, career, and/or military success immediately after high school. We will ensure that transparency and accountability for outcomes is part of everything we do, and we will prioritize resources to those students and communities who are most in need. And since we first gathered in this room, we have taken critical actions aligned with those principles and that make those principles come alive. We have raised expectations in every one of our core subjects: history, English, math, and now science. We continue to provide clearer and more actionable information on student achievement to our parents, to our students, and to our communities. And we've invested billions of additional dollars in K-12 public education to address learning loss, to implement the Virginia Literacy Act, to increase teacher salaries, all so that we can build the capacity of our schools and our educators so that we can meet student need. And we are not done. Today, we turn to the most important part of the work. Today, we start to create a culture that values and uses data provided in this school performance framework as a tool to inform, to empower, and to improve. The most important questions we should be asking, all of us should be asking in education are, so what does this data tell us? And now, what are we going to do differently to get different and better outcomes? When we ask those hard questions, and we do the hard work to answer them, we are demonstrating that we believe in high expectations and excellence. We are showing that we believe in our communities, our students, and our schools to be able to do this work. Because when we show this and we know this, and when we work together to provide timely and actionable data, when we take the time to teach people how to use that information, and when we provide them with the support and the resources to act on that data, then all schools can be strong and every student can thrive. And that is our goal. And we know that working together, Virginia can do this. And so now it's my pleasure to invite State Board of Education President Grace Creasy to the microphone. President Creasy has been a stalwart supporter of students, of schools, and of education throughout her entire career in education. The work we release today is a testament to her incredibly strong leadership of our board. Grace?
Thank you so much, Secretary Gadara. This is a big day. This is one that the State Board of Education has worked diligently to reach for more than 2 years, having determined a need for change to the state's former accreditation system, which lacked transparency for all stakeholders to be able to understand how well schools were serving their students. The School Performance and Support Framework has been under development since late summer of 2022 under a transparent and public process. The framework is grounded in best practices from across the nation and has been guided by partnerships with national experts and thought partners. It has also been informed by the board's monthly meetings and through over 30 public engagement sessions throughout the 8 superintendent regions, bringing together more than 1,000 participants to discuss the framework. Voices from every corner of the Commonwealth have shaped this new framework, with nearly 2/3 of the comments supporting the regulations that were approved by the board in August. So for the first time in years, we will be able to know how every school is serving every student so that we can provide targeted supports, training, assistance, coaching, and financial resources to the schools and the divisions that need it most so that they can ensure that every student is on track for success. This is the responsibility of the State Board of Education. But as Secretary Gadara said, this isn't just about providing data on how well every school is supporting every child. This framework ensures all school communities can pinpoint their most critical areas of need for support to improve student outcomes. Our goal is to support and strengthen schools to ensure every student reaches their greatest potential. This has been the board's mission since day one. This is the work of education. It is hard, but it is the right thing for us to do for our students. We must act now. Our students are waiting for us. Before I turn to the governor to provide greater detail on the framework, I have to thank the Board of Education for their continued commitment to empower parents, students, educators, and administrators with actionable information to build a culture that values the use of data to nurture continuous improvement, that is laser-focused on student readiness for life. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the 74th Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin.
Great. Thank you all very much. Thank you for gathering together again, as Secretary Gadara said, in this room where we have together been on a very purposeful journey, a journey that has as a destination the very best K-12 educational system in America. That is our goal, and that is where we are heading. And today is also a moment for us to celebrate an extraordinary amount of work that will help us accelerate our way on that path, because now we know which schools need the most help and in what areas can we help them the most. What a step. And so I want to thank everyone who has been engaged in this very purposeful journey. And let me just back up and share with you a few of the key milestones along the way in this journey. We started together recognizing that parents had a primary role in the education of their children, and we needed to reaffirm that. And the collaboration between parents and excellent teaching can never be undermined. It must be fostered. And we are seeing parental engagement, and we are seeing excellent teaching and therefore we are seeing student performance. That is an amazing step. We recognized early on, as Secretary Gadara shared, that there was a gap, an honesty gap, between where our students needed to be and where they are. And one of the most important things we can do is speak truth about where we are, because then we can chart the road forward. And the sad reality is that nearly 2/3 of our students, roughly in elementary school and in middle schools, were either failing or near failing math SOLs and reading SOLs. And that is a wake-up call for Virginia, and that was a call that we all chose together to answer. We put ourselves on a very purposeful roadmap to address that aspiration of excellence, raising the ceiling and the floor, and doing it in a way that we could measure and better target the support needed. We started with just a clear recognition that funding increases were critical. And since 2021, so our very first budget together in 2022, we have collectively with the General Assembly supported a 40% increase in funding in K through 12, over $10 billion in direct support for K through 12. Included in that was a critical step for us to address the fact that we need to pay our teachers more because you work incredibly hard. Hello, Maria. Thank you for coming, one of our hardworking teachers. And therefore, during the first 2 years together, we had a 12% increase in pay. And this biennium budget includes another 6% increase in pay. Our projections are that during this biennium, the average teacher salary across the Commonwealth of Virginia will move through the national average. That is a big statement by Virginia on how much we value our teachers. We understand that to have excellence, we have to have high expectations. And the amazing work done again across the Commonwealth when it comes to standards and what we need to make sure our students are capable of is not something that should be bifurcated based on their zip code. We want every child in the Commonwealth of Virginia to have an excellent education no matter where they live. And what an opportunity that is to then also see multiple pathways in our school system that allows parents and students in consultation with trusted teachers to find those multiple pathways. Whether that pathway leads to earning an industry-recognized credential and an extraordinary job. By the way, if somebody wants to go get a welding certificate and a credential, I can find you a job tomorrow because there are so many in need. Or if that pathway leads to serving in our military, or that pathway leads to attending one of our great colleges or community colleges, we need to make sure that there are multiple pathways to meet each child so that they can meet their dreams and aspirations. We recognized along the way that learning loss was deeper and more persistent than we possibly could have imagined. Sadly, Virginia, coming out of the pandemic, was in the bottom 10 states in the nation in getting schools back open. And not to discredit the incredible effort for teachers to do the miraculous, trying to convince an elementary school student that a 12-inch screen was a quality education was hard. And we saw that particularly in 3rd through 8th graders coming out of the pandemic, the foundation hadn't been set. And so the All-in Virginia tutoring program was launched. It was done on a bipartisan basis. I still remember sitting down with Senators Locke and Lucas, talking about how important this is. And they said, "You're right, Governor, let's work on it together." $418 million to implement a multi-year program for intensive tutoring for those 3rd through 8th graders, particularly who needed it most, that 60+% who were near failing or failing our assessments of their proficiency, and also providing support to address chronic absenteeism, which had reached such an unsustainable and extraordinary level coming out of the pandemic. We saw great progress over the course of the last year. The schools that embraced it saw huge progress. But we have so much more work to do, and that's why that multi-year commitment is so important. And now, my friends, we stand here today talking about the roadmap to readiness. This whole concept that we can, in fact, assess with trusted data where our schools are, and therefore drive support in order to enable all of our schools to be on that roadmap to excellence. And the reality is, this is not about judging. This is simply about knowing where we are. And of course, what we find is that there are 208 schools across the Commonwealth of Virginia that need a lot of help. And therefore, we're working to bring that help to them so that the students in those schools can have an opportunity for excellence in education, because we know that they're fully capable of it. And so that's what today's in-depth briefing is all about. How are we assessing? What is it telling us? How do we bring together those elements of mastering a subject area, of assessing growth, and a student being ready for that next level? And what an opportunity for us then to understand where the resources are most needed, and then to go to work to support those students and those schools. That's why today, in addition to the deep resource base that is going to be available on the website and through the Department of Education and the Office of School Quality, which you will hear about from Superintendent Coons, I also am committed to including in my budget amendments at least $50 million that will be used to support the schools that need support the most. We'll include incremental funding into the Office of School Quality so that we can make sure that we have the resources to get the resources to the people that need them. My friends, this is not about judging, as I said a minute ago. This is about understanding where we are, knowing where we want to be, and then working together to get everyone with a roadmap on how to get to readiness. That is so exciting. The work has been immense, and I too want to thank our State Board of Education for their tireless commitment to the priorities of opening up excellence and opportunity to every single student, to teachers, to parents, to administrators, to principals across the Commonwealth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I believe our future will be dreamed and then built by today's students. And therefore, we have a collective responsibility to prepare them, to give them the confidence and the skills and the capabilities to not just meet that opportunity at the minimal level, but allow them to soar through it to prepare them to take on the challenges and to have the confidence to achieve those dreams. That is our collective responsibility. And my friends, I will tell you, over the course of the last 3 years together, we have been on the road to readiness. So, we're not done. We have so much work to do. Today is a moment for us to understand the tools that are available for us to continue to sprint on this road to readiness, to understand how to build a roadmap on how to get there and how to do it together, how to work together so that every child in Virginia can achieve that unbridled dream for the future. I'm excited, if you hadn't noticed. What we're doing is what our students deserve, what our families deserve. And I firmly believe that Virginia is leading the nation on how to transform and how to enable the education of Virginians in the future. I want to thank you all for joining us today. I sadly have been pulled out into something and I have to go. I would love to stay, but because what Superintendent Coons is about to share with you are all the building blocks, all of the components, the resources that are available to parents, to students, to teachers, to principals, to superintendents, to all work together in order to build that roadmap to readiness. May God bless the work that we're doing, honestly, because this is seriously big work. May He bless all of our students and our families. May He bless all of our teachers and our principals and our administrators. And may He continue to bless the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you very much. And if you don't know Superintendent Lisa Coons, this is Superintendent Lisa Coons. Here we go.
I also want to start with gratitude. I want to thank the governor for his budget announcement and for the supports. I want to thank the state board led by President Creasy for their effort over the past 2 years to listen to Virginians and develop a transparent and clear performance and support framework. And I want to thank the secretary for reminding us this is about students, and this is about children, and this is about their opportunity. But most importantly, I want to thank our educators. I want to thank Superintendent Brown. I want to thank Principal Vance, our teachers, Shonda Wood and Maria Feliciano, for helping us in some of our most needing, wonderful, amazing schools with children who are ready to excel and be on top of the world. So thank you for everything that you choose to do every day and every child you choose to support. We are excited to launch our new Performance and Support Framework Hub. As President Creasy said, we launched the Performance and Support Framework with the board approval in August, and we have been on the ground running since then. And we are very excited about the hub that has all kinds of resources and support for families, teachers, school leaders, and superintendents to dig in and continue to do work. On the left-hand side, you will see our framework overview. This is a landing page for all of how our framework is designed, all of the work the board did over the past 2 years to design and listen and take feedback, the conversations around what is mastery, what does it look like for a student to show grade level expectations, what do we want in a student growth, how should they grow, and what does it mean, as the governor said, to be ready for that next step. All of those what's and what does that mean are under the framework overview. And then if you move to the school data kit, we have been working since September with our superintendents, our school leaders, our counselors, and our educators to dig into their data. Their data from last year, their 24 data, we have loaded into the Performance and Support Framework model, and that model has been something over the past 2 months. In 28 different sessions, we have worked with superintendents. We have dug in and helped them to start understanding what their data looks like with last year's data and prepare for the launch of the Performance and Support Framework in 2025. So we are excited to continue that shoulder-to-shoulder data analysis, because what we see in this clear data book that you will see on the School and Data Toolkit is an understanding of more components than Virginians have ever seen before. We are able to deeply understand where our students are. We're able to look at reading mastery, reading growth, math mastery, math growth, what it looks like in science, where attendance is impacting all of that data, and graduation. So that data book, we encourage everyone to go to that School Data Toolkit. The QR code is right there, and dig in and understand what our schools need and how we are there to support them. As we move forward and transition, we want to make sure that we have roadmaps to support, because this is not just the performance and the data, this is about the support that the governor spoke about. And we have roadmaps for every stakeholder at the top of that support page, whether it's our superintendents that are thinking about the data for all of their schools, whether they're looking at that analysis with their teams and with their school leaders, and digging in and connecting that data to what their continuous improvement plan is and what supports are needed. Whether it's our principals looking at their teachers, their needs of their students, really digging into those places and seeing where they need to go in those deep, very specific pockets. Whether it's our teachers looking at their classroom of students and understanding where their students were, whether or not they grew last year, whether or not they need to dig in different ways. And most importantly, it allows our parents for the first time to really look at that data, understand that data from their school perspective, understand that data for their student, and become partners with their schools and collaboratively work together. On the website, we also have a wealth of resources. Our family supports and our educator supports are organized in the same way that that data book is organized. Starts with reading. And if you go to the educator supports, you'll see educator supports in reading for all schools. Educator supports that are really targeted to our at-risk schools and those that need the most. And those resources are tailored to that planning process from that data book, and it's all connected together. You will also see opportunities for families. What do I need to be working on? What do I need to be thinking about as my child's learning to read? My child came home with this math stuff. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do I support them? Those are those educator resources. But it's all going back to this framework that has transparent, clear data for all of us to work together and collaborate. So excited to have this resource hub today, to have over 100 sets of resources, and to continue to build and grow with our educators across the Commonwealth so that we can prepare to be on the road to readiness together. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coons, and thank you, President Creasy. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have about what we just talked about, what we've shared, and where we're going with this. So if there are any questions from the press, that would be terrific. Yes.
Sure. As the board walked through this process that happened over 2 years, in the spring, the board started asking, what does this data look like? We used 2023 data. As the governor said, that's the data where we looked at and saw the biggest gaps in our grade 3 through 8 students and implemented the all-in and the all-in supports. So the original models of the data used existing data from 2023. As the final data came through for June 2024, those models were updated. That data was not final until September 30th. So school divisions did not get their final accreditation analysis until September 30th. So the data on the dashboard today and the data we've been using in those 28 training sessions is the final data from 2024.
Other questions? Yes.
So we have submitted, and all through the process that the board was going through, we're in close contact with ESSA and the U.S. Department of Education, and we are under final review and in final conversations with the U.S. Department of Education. Not at this time.
Ask any other questions? I'll come back to you in a second. Anyone have another question before? If not, go ahead.
As we said before, the 22-23 data is very different than the 24 data, and the modeling was incomplete. We said that when those initial models were put in place. If you look on the website that is live now, it shows that the data is complete. All of the federal designations and the calculations are complete in that data using the 24 data for school divisions to dig in and look at how they're planning for when the performance and support framework goes live.
And I would just add before we go there for a second, is that if you all go look at the QR code, what's different is that never before in Virginia have you been able to go on and just every citizen right now, every teacher, every parent can go on and see all the data, right? That when we talk about transparency and to understand, and this is open for people to do analysis, to dig deeper and to say, those questions I said, so what? So what does this data tell us, and now what are we going to do differently? And I'm looking at the nodding heads of our heroes in the classrooms and the schools and divisions. This is what we've never empowered our educators with, is the ability to dive into the actual data and say, let's get smart together, and then together, let's figure out what we need to do, and how do we support our educators so we get different results. And that's what this is all about, is getting different and better outcomes for our students. And so this is a new day in Virginia and a new opportunity to use information differently and to really call on these incredible supports that the department is putting out here. One last question, as I'm told we have time for. Anybody else? So I think the department's requests were for beyond this, or there are other pieces in there as well. And we are looking at the data ourselves, right? We're now diving into this data, and you can be assured that every budget conversation we have will be aligned to what this data tells us. And that's how local school divisions should be making decisions about how local schools should be, is that we should be using this data to drive our investments to the areas and onto the topics that we need to focus on the most. And we'll be doing the same thing in the Patrick Henry building. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for spending part of your days with us. We could not be more excited about this milestone that we've reached. We think this is a game changer, and that we are on track to making sure that we see every child and that we get every child what he or she needs to be on track for success and ready for life. Thank you for joining us on this journey and being part of a stronger, more vibrant Virginia. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.